Chapter 31. Genius Gu Qingshan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I can teach you acupuncture, but you said that you already know about medicinal herbs and pharmacology. I can't believe it. I only took you in for 3 days. How could you know all this? Identifying medicinal herbs is the foundation. You can't be careless. Dr. Hua was very strict with his profession. Few people in modern times knew about medicinal herbs. Even if Gu Qingshan had some foundation, it was impossible for her to completely identify all the medicinal herbs here in 3 days. Therefore, Dr. Hua felt that Gu Qingshan's words were a little exaggerated. Gu Qingshan also knew Dr. Hua's worries. This was understandable. Why don't Master test me to see if I pass? Dr. Hua raised his eyebrows. This disciple of his was quite confident. Fine, he shall give Gu Qingshan a blow. It was also time to let this girl experience her master's ability. That's fine too. Then I'll first test you on a simple one. What are the characteristics and effects of the Crown Prince ginseng? Gu Qingshan did not hesitate. She opened her mouth and answered, the Crown Prince ginseng is also known as the child ginseng and false starwort. The dried root is used as medicine. The root is long and has a vertical shape. The lower part of the stem is purple. It is mild in nature, sweet in taste, and slightly bitter. The main treatment is to nourish qi and strengthen the spleen. It can also nourish the body and lungs, as well as for health maintenance. Gu Qingshan answered very methodically. Her calm and composed appearance made Dr. Hua take a few more glances at her. These are the most basic things. Let me test you again. Tell me about the medicinal value of the Chinese pulsatilla root. This question seemed simple, but there was a hidden meaning behind it. Gu Qingshan only thought for a moment before she said, the Chinese pulsatilla root has an extremely high medicinal value. It has a cooling effect, detoxification, cooling blood, and stopping dysentery. Speaking up to this point, Gu Qingshan paused and saw a trace of craftiness in Dr. Hua's eyes. Before Dr. Hua opened his mouth, she continued. However, there are also some plants in Province Ji that are also commonly known as Chinese pulsatilla root. The most common ones are Herba Naphtali hypoluci and Chinese cinquefoil herb. The effect of the Herba Naphtali hypoluci is to dispel phlegm, cough, asthma, and rheumatism. On the other hand, the Chinese cinquefoil herb is to clear away heat, detoxify, cool blood, and stop dysentery. These two herbs cannot be compared to the real Chinese pulsatilla root, but they are easily confused. Master, are you satisfied with my answer? Looking at Gu Qingshan's smiling eyes, Dr. Hua knew that he had been fooled by this girl. He thought that he could use this opportunity to lecture her, but he did not expect it to be like this. However, even so, Dr. Hua was still a little excited. He did not expect that a random disciple would not only be lucky but also be able to guess the questions that he randomly came up with. She also knew about pharmacology and medicinal herbs. TSK, Dr. Hua even suspected that God had sent this disciple to him on purpose. This time, Dr. Hua smiled with his eyes narrowed as he stroked his beard leisurely. No matter how he looked at Gu Qingshan, he felt very comfortable. Next, Dr. Hua tested Gu Qingshan on a lot of topics related to medicine. Gu Qingshan's answer made him very satisfied. Such a promising disciple was picked up by him. It was really more exciting than winning the lottery. I'll test you one last time. What do you think this medicinal herb is? Dr. Hua took out a medicinal herb from a medicine box. It was a root-shaped plant with no stems or leaves. It looked a little ugly and was placed in front of Gu Qingshan. If you can tell me what this is, I'll start teaching you medical skills. Gu Qingshan was slightly stunned. She did not see this plant when she was identifying the medicinal herbs the day before yesterday. Dr. Hua must have put it in during these 2 days. In Gu Qingshan's memory, this medicinal herb did not appear in those herbal books. Gu Qingshan put on a glove, picked up the root with her index finger and thumb, and carefully observed it. Then, she put the herb under her nose and sniffed it. Comparing the details of those medicinal herbs, it seemed that none of them met the standard. Gu Qingchen looked at Dr. Hua for a long time with a hint of uncertainty in her eyes. She asked hesitantly, "Master, are you sure that this thing is a medicinal herb?" Dr. Hua seemed to be very confident that Gu Qingchen would not recognize it. The corners of his eyes were almost raised to the tip of his eyebrows. I don't even know what this is. I picked it up outside. I don't believe that this girl can recognize it." Reading her master's thoughts, Gu Qingchen's face turned dark. At that moment, Gu Qingchen really wanted to ask, "Master, can I beat you up? I have never seen this herb before. From its shape, color, and smell, it is not a medicinal herb. Perhaps I am ignorant. May I ask, Master, what kind of medicinal herb is this treasure of yours?" "Ahem, about that. You're not ready yet. I'll teach you again in the future. Although you haven't identified the last one, I see that you do have the potential to learn medicine. I'll make an exception and teach you medical skills from tomorrow onwards." Dr. Hua coughed lightly to cover up his embarrassment. He would never tell Gu Qingchen that he had casually used this nonsense thing to tease her. Although Gu Qingchen knew what Dr. Hua was thinking, she did not expose him. Anyway, Dr. Hua had said that he would teach her medical skills from tomorrow onwards. Her goal had been achieved. "Yes, thank you, Master. I will study hard." Looking at the humble Gu Qingchen, who looked submissive and respected him, Dr. Hua felt very comfortable. "All right, from now on, come over every night after school. I will teach you some basic medical knowledge." "Oh, right, room 1208. Don't forget it." It was better to leave the troublesome matters that he could not handle to this disciple. No wonder many doctors like to take in disciples. It turned out that having a disciple by his side really saved him a lot of trouble. "Master, can you tell me who exactly is that young Master Rome? Is there anything I need to pay attention to when I deliver the medicine?" Gu Qingchen felt that it was better to get to know this guy who was difficult to deal with even for his master. If she went over without knowing anything, she might make a fool of herself. When Dr. Hua heard the word young Master Rome, he frowned. It seemed that young Master Rome was a person who gave him a headache. "Well, you'll know when you get there. Anyway, your mission is to make him take the medicine. You can think of the method yourself." After Dr. Hua said that, he went back to the backyard as if he had gotten rid of the sticky candy. Looking at Dr. Hua's vigorous figure, Gu Qingchen's emotion was in a mess. Master. Shouldn't he be the most serious spokesperson? Why was her master so unreliable? In the next few days, Gu Qingchen did not go to Dynasty Hotel because she had to go to school. Dr. Hua said that young Master Rome would stay in City Y for a period of time, so Gu Qingchen decided to visit him on the weekend. In the past few days, Mr. Gu had been busy with his own matters. Gu Qingchen told her family that she was going to study at night, but in fact, she came to the 100 Herb Hall. Dr. Hua was indeed a man of his word. When he taught Gu Qingchen medical skills, he was very attentive, and Gu Qingchen also benefited a lot. For the first time, Gu Qingchen felt that her master was really a doctor at the level of a master, and not a charlatan. Chapter 32. She was stopped. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On Saturday, Gu Qingchen took the medicinal herbs given by her master and went straight to Dynasty Hotel. Dynasty Hotel. Despite being a very famous hotel in Province T, it had a low-key in luxurious style. Although there was a gap between it and some luxury hotels in the future, in 1996, it was already an eye-catching hotel. Even Gu Qingchen had never been to Dynasty Hotel. The Gu family was considered a small wealthy businessman in the past. At most, they would only go to a hotel like the Rose Hotel. They didn't even dare to think about Dynasty Hotel. There were even many people who were puzzled. Was there anyone staying at Dynasty Hotel? The answer was, of course, there were people. Someone had to stay. Only those who were unknown to the common people and had a prominent identity were qualified to stay there. As for ordinary wealthy businessmen, they could forget about it. But dreaming about it was still fine. Gu Qingchen had only reached the boundary of Dynasty Hotel. Before she reached the entrance of the hotel, she was stopped at the periphery. "I'm sorry, do you have an appointment?" A handsome young man with clean eyes blocked Gu Qingchen's way. He was wearing a uniform with the logo of Dynasty Hotel. His back was straight and the expression on his face was perfect. He did not look arrogant or humble. Gu Qingchen had never been to Dynasty Hotel and did not know the rules here. She could only shake her head. "I don't have an appointment. I'm here to look for someone." The handsome young man quickly said, "Then may I know which room you're looking for? I can help you contact the person." "Room 1208, someone surnamed Rong." Gu Qingchen did not know the name of young Master Rong, so she had to give a surname. However, when the handsome young man heard Gu Qingchen's words, he was instantly stunned. As if he had heard something unbelievable, he blinked his eyes and looked at Gu Qingchen. Being stared at like this, Gu Qingchen frowned slightly. "Didn't you say that you would help me contact him?" The handsome young man immediately came back to his senses and asked hesitantly, "Are you sure you are looking for Mr. Rong in room 1208? Mr. Rong in room 1208 did not say that people were looking for him today. Not everyone could enter the Dynasty Hotel. Even if they wanted to see the person inside, they had to make an appointment beforehand. The person staying in the hotel would greet the visitor at the door before the person could be let in. And room 1208 did not mention that someone would be visiting today. Moreover, would the person in room 1208 really meet this girl? No matter how he looked at it, it didn't seem like it. Gu Qingchen thought for a moment. She was indeed a little presumptuous, but she was here to deliver medicine. Since she had come here, could it be that she had to go back and ask her master to contact young Master Rong first? Contact him first. Tell him that Dr. Hua asked me to deliver something. Gu Qingchen thought for a moment and didn't say that she was here to deliver medicine. She still had to pay attention to the privacy of patients. The handsome young man did not move. He looked at Gu Qingchen for a long time before he said, "I'm sorry, miss. The guest in room 1208 does not like to be disturbed. I'm afraid I can't help you contact him. How about this, you can contact Mr. Rong first and see if he wants to see you." It seemed that the handsome young man was very afraid of young Master Rong and was not even willing to make a call. In addition, every time her master mentioned young Master Rong, his behavior would become very strange. Gu Qingchen started to suspect that could it be that this young Master Rong was violent or had some bad habits. "Gu Qingchen. Why are you here? I haven't gone to look for you yet, but you took the initiative to look for me. Why? Could it be that you missed me?" Just as Gu Qingchen was hesitating whether to enter, a male voice interrupted from behind. With that strange tone, Gu Qingchen did not need to turn around to know who it was. Turning around, as expected, dressed in a flashy red suit and a peach-pink shirt, young Master Tang smiled and stood in front of Gu Qingchen with a beautiful woman beside him. Gu Qingchen first took a look at this beautiful woman. She was indeed not the same beautiful woman as she saw outside the washroom a few days ago. TSK. No wonder Tang Feng's nickname was so popular. With the speed of a new beauty every other day, it was hard not to be famous. When the handsome young man saw Tang Feng, he stood even straighter and called out respectfully, "Young Master Tang." Usually, Tang Feng did not care about the security guards at the entrance. But today, for the first time, he asked, "What's going on? Are you making things difficult for my little Qingchen?" His little Qingchen. Pfft. Gu Qingchen had goosebumps all over. "Don't ruin my reputation. I didn't eat much this morning, so I don't plan to throw up." The beauty in Tang Feng's arms was slightly startled. She looked at Gu Qingchen as if she was looking at a monster. The handsome man was the same, but the expression in his eyes was more reserved. On the other hand, Tang Feng did not seem surprised at all when he heard Gu Qingchen's words. He was actually in a good mood and laughing happily. This made the beautiful woman in his arms lose her composure. She was a little confused, but the way she looked at Gu Qingchen was completely different. She was not jealous. Instead, it was as if she had looked up to Gu Qingchen. Sigh, little Qingchen is still so interesting. Why are you free to come here today? This question was directed at Gu Qingchen, and there was nothing else for the handsome man to do. The handsome man secretly heaved a sigh of relief and took a few steps back. I'm looking for someone to deliver something. Tang Feng glanced at the bag in Gu Qingchen's hand. He could not see what was inside. So you're not looking for me? Sigh, this is really heartbreaking. Let's go in together. I'm a little curious, who are you looking for? Tang Feng released the beauty in his arms and walked to Gu Qingchen's side. He reached out to wrap his arm around Gu Qingchen's shoulder but was mercilessly slapped away by Gu Qingchen. Be no calm. Tang Feng covered his heart as if he was heartbroken. I'm too heartbroken. Little Qingchen doesn't allow me to touch her anymore. Gu Qingchen rolled her eyes at Tang Feng. How long are you going to drag out the money you owe me? She had really overestimated Tang Feng's credibility. She had thought that Tang Feng would transfer the money to her very soon, but she realized that there was still not $5 million in the account. Tang Feng sighed helplessly and shook his head. What a heartless little girl. She only cares about money and not people. Gu Qingchen took a deep breath and decided to ignore him. She had never thought of urging Tang Feng to return the money. How could the dignified young master of the Tang group default on the money owed to her? It was very likely that this young master had been busy picking up girls these few days and had forgotten about this matter. Yes, that must be the case. Tang Feng did not know that he had been labeled as a pervert by Gu Qingchen. By the time he realized it, it was already too late for regrets. This was Gu Qingchen's first time coming to Dynasty Hotel. It was only on the way here that she truly lamented the injustice of the world. Her family was still living in an ordinary shabby room. Compared to this place, one was heaven, and the other was hell. When they reached the entrance of the hotel, a special staff ran over to receive them. Young Master Tang, would you like to go back to your room or rest and eat? They had to take a private car to go back to their room because Dynasty Hotel was a villa style resort hotel. It was too big inside and they needed to take a car. Chapter 33. Confidentiality. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tang Feng did not say anything. He looked at Gu Qingchen and completely forgot about the woman in his arms. She was now following behind him, trying her best to regain her presence. Little Qingchen, who did you say you're looking for? Do you know which room they're staying in? Gu Qingchen's eyes rolled around. No one knew what she was thinking about. Then, she looked at Tang Feng and said meaningfully, Room 1208, Young Master Rong. Boom. What? She was looking for Rong Yu. Tang Feng looked at Gu Qingchen in shock. One moment, he looked like something had dawned upon him, and the next moment, he was extremely surprised. Although Gu Qingchen looked calm on the surface, she could confirm one thing in her heart. The young Master Rong that her master mentioned was the same person as the young Master Rong that Tang Feng knew. The mysterious young master of the Rong group was actually a disabled person. Gu Qingchen only felt that her mind was in chaos. She really did not expect this. This was probably an absolutely explosive piece of news. At this moment, Gu Qingchen understood a little. When her master told her to deliver the medicine, he was definitely pushing the trouble to her. The young master of the Rong group was such a noble existence, yet he was a disabled person. It could be imagined that his psychological gap wasn't small. He was definitely not an easy person to deal with. No wonder her master could not handle it. Gu Qingchen even wondered if Dr. Hua had suddenly found a disciple because he wanted to get rid of this hot potato, young Master Rong. Unfortunately, she became Dr. Hua's disciple. Sigh. Gu Qingchen let out a deep sigh. Since she had come, she should just let it go. You came to find young Master Rong. Don't tell me you two really have a special relationship. Tang Feng's eyes lit up as he looked at Gu Qingchen. His expression looked like he had found something interesting. I don't know him. I've never seen him before. Perhaps. She had seen him before. That day at the entrance of the 100 Herb Hall, she had caught a glimpse of the side profile of the person in the wheelchair. Just the side profile was unforgettable. Gu Qingchen could not explain why. She clearly did not get a clear look at that person's appearance, but that person had an attractive aura about him. Hearing Gu Qingchen's answer, Tang Feng was shocked and even more confused. You don't know him. You really don't know him. Subconsciously, Tang Feng asked more questions. Didn't young Master Rong say that the two of them had a close relationship? How could she not know him? Moreover, looking at Gu Qingchen's expression and tone, it seemed that she was not lying. Gu Qingchen really did not know young Master Rong. This was interesting. Gu Qingchen rolled her eyes at Tang Feng and raised her eyebrows slightly. Don't tell me I should know him. How could she know someone from the Rong group? Then it's really interesting. If you want to find young Master Rong, that's fine too. I'll bring you there. I really don't know whether it's your luck or my luck that you actually met me today. If it were anyone else, you wouldn't even be able to enter this place, let alone meet that guy. Tang Feng wasn't mocking Gu Qingchen. He was telling the truth. The people who could enter and leave this place were not ordinary. And none of these special people with statuses wanted to let others know about their privacy. This place was the best bomb shelter and vacation spot. There was no need to worry about scandals or things that those people did not want others to know, to be known. The safety and privacy of this place were very reliable. Although Gu Qingchen did not know the real purpose of this place, she could roughly guess from the strict management system. She nodded at Tang Feng to express her gratitude. Tang Feng put his arm around Gu Qingchen's shoulder with a trace of excitement. Let's go, let's go. I'll take you there. I know his place well. Gu Qingchen's face instantly darkened. Tang Feng was really used to being touchy. When he met Gu Qingchen's eyes, Tang Feng let go of his hand with a hint of regret. Prepare the car. Go to 1208. Tang Feng ordered and someone immediately drove the car over. Gu Qingchen and Tang Feng sat on it, and the woman that Tang Feng brought also quickly followed. You don't have to follow me if you want to walk out of here alive. The woman who had just sat in the car immediately stood up, her body half bent, and her posture looked very strange. All right, go look for my assistant if you like anything. You can go back today. Tang Feng dismissed the woman with just a few words. The woman originally felt very awkward, but when she heard Tang Feng's words, she immediately beamed with joy and obediently got out of the car. After the car drove away, Tang Feng said coldly, women these days are really realistic. Indeed, they are not as lovable as my little Qingchen. Gu Qingchen was not used to Tang Feng's endearment. She had never been in a relationship before in her life because for people with millions in debt, being in a relationship was a luxury and a waste. The men she interacted with, apart from her schoolmates, were the researchers in the laboratory. However, those researchers would only treat her as a guinea pig and would not treat her as a normal person. Therefore, Tang Feng's actions made Gu Qingchen a little uncomfortable. I'm not from your family. Young Master Tang's memory doesn't seem to be very good. Although she could only come in today because of Tang Feng, it didn't mean that she had to be like those women and flatter him. Tang Feng didn't mind at all. He used his greasy voice to say again, "It's okay. If you don't like it, then take it that I'm from your family. I don't mind." Damn it. She knew that she couldn't explain it to Tang Feng, so Gu Qingchen simply gave up on communicating with him. Tang Feng seemed to have noticed Gu Qingchen's displeasure and became serious. He narrowed his phoenix-like eyes and stared at Gu Qingchen. "I'm very curious, what are you giving young Master Rong for your visit today?" There had never been any women around Rong Yu. It was as if those women had been dismissed by him before they appeared. What Tang Feng did not expect was that Gu Qingchen was a special case. A person who was not sent away by young Master Rong in advance was definitely a special case. "It's a secret." Gu Qingchen still attached great importance to the privacy of patients. She used to be considered a patient. However, she was a patient who was being studied by others. Because of her experience, Gu Qingchen did not like her privacy to be publicized by others, so she still attached great importance to privacy. Very soon, the car arrived at 12:08. It was an independent courtyard. If one observed carefully, they would find that this courtyard was more exquisite than the other courtyards, and it was even more low-key and luxurious. After getting out of the car, Tang Feng let the driving staff leave. The staff naturally knew that young Master Rong did not like strangers, so they quickly left. "We're here. This is where young Master Rong lives. But whether you can go in or not, it's up to you." Tang Feng smiled evilly. He crossed his arms and leaned against the wall. He leaned sideways and looked down at Gu Qingchen. He had no intention of helping Gu Qingchen. Gu Qingchen glanced at Tang Feng, then raised her hand and pressed the doorbell. Chapter 34. Their First Encounter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing Gu Qingchen being openly invited in while he was being denied entry, Tang Feng was feeling confused. What a bully. His curiosity was piqued. He still wanted to know why Gu Qingchen came to find Rong Yu and what their relationship was. The despicable Rong Yu actually allowed Gu Qingchen to go in and refused to let him in. Thinking of this, Tang Feng felt uncomfortable all over. He was extremely displeased. In the villa, Gu Qingchen walked all the way over and only saw an elderly butler. The butler treated people with courtesy, making people feel very comfortable. "Ms. Gu, this way please." Gu Qingchen followed the butler and walked all the way over. By now, Gu Qingchen already knew that the one whom she had caught a glimpse of at the 100 Herb Hall was this young Master Rong. She did not see young Master Rong clearly, but she did see the butler clearly. The butler was the one who had pushed young Master Rong that day. The villa was very large, and the spiral staircase design was very unique. It was definitely the best expression of art. There was actually no room on the first floor, only a kitchen in the hall. In other words, the bedroom was on the second floor. Gu Qingchen looked around but did not see an elevator in the villa. Since there was no elevator, how did young Master Rong, who sat in a wheelchair, get to the second floor? Could it be that the butler carried him up on his back every day? Gu Qingchen did not know why, but her thoughts had gone astray. She was here today to deliver medicine. How could she have diverted her attention and become concerned about this young Master Rong whom she had never met before? Gu Qingchen shook her head and threw away the messy questions in her mind. She followed the butler to the backyard. As soon as she stepped into the backyard, Gu Qingchen saw the back of the person in the wheelchair. It was cold and lonely, but there was an indescribable warmth in it. It was a very contradictory feeling, but it was very compatible with him. The sun shone down, and young Master Rong was bathed in the sunlight. The golden sunlight seemed to have plated a layer of gold on young Master Rong's body. A breeze blew past, and the golden osmanthus flowers in the yard fell down and landed on young Master Rong's shoulder. Young Master Rong tilted his head slightly and reached out his hand to pinch off the petals on his shoulder. His slender fingers looked very beautiful, accompanied by the faint fragrance of the osmanthus flowers. It was as if he was a person in a painting. "Ms. Gu, please take a seat." Although young Master Rong did not look at Gu Qingchen, it was as if he had eyes behind his back. When Gu Qingchen came back to her senses, she noticed that the butler had left. Only she and young Master Rong were left in the courtyard. Gu Qingchen suddenly felt a little hot on her cheeks. She was so engrossed in looking at the back of a man that she did not even realize it. Fortunately, young Master Rong had his back to her. Otherwise, if others saw her like this, she would really have to find a hole to hide in. Gu Qingchen looked around and found that there was only one swing to sit on. She paused for a moment and sat on the swing. It was not that she was tired, but she felt that standing and chatting with young Master Rong who was in the wheelchair had a hint of bullying. But then again, she had not sat on the swing for a long time. When she sat down, she felt a little uncomfortable, but very quickly, she felt at ease. Rong Yu's beautiful wrists turned the wheelchair, and the wheelchair turned around nimbly. What greeted Gu Qingchen's eyes was Rong Yu's breathtaking and mesmerizing face. His pair of shimmering eyes were deep like a brilliant and dazzling stream of light. In his pitch black pupils, the most prosperous and beautiful scenery in the world could be seen. His nose was tall and straight as if it was carved with the sharpest knife. People with such a nose were usually very determined in their bones. The corners of his lips curled up into a slight curve. Under the gentle smile, there was a hint of elegance and handsomeness. His thin red lips were gently pursed. With each breath, it outlined a touch of intoxicating beauty that captivated people's souls. Rong Yu's skin was fair, but it was not normal white. There was a hint of sick beauty. If Gu Qingchen had not learned a few things from her master over the past few days, she probably would not have noticed the difference in Rong Yu. Gu Qingchen had thought that such a peerless man could only be found in manga novels. She had not expected such an extreme existence to appear in front of her. This made Gu Qingchen's heart skip a beat, and she was a little caught off guard. Gu Qingchen understood what it meant to have butterflies in her stomach at this moment. However, she would never admit that she was a nymphomaniac. At most, she was a little obsessed with looks. Rong Yu seemed to have gotten used to the surprised look in others' eyes when they saw him. The smile on his lips was gentle and refined. No matter who looked at him, he was a gentle and modest young master. "Ms. Gu, I'm sure that Dr. Hua asked you to deliver the medicine this time." A deep and mellow voice entered her heart. Gu Qingchen suddenly came back to her senses and looked at Rong Yu apologetically. Although she knew in her heart that she should not be mesmerized by his beauty, when she saw that face, she would still be dazzled. "Calm down, calm down." Gu Qingchen took a few deep breaths in her heart and secretly hinted to herself that although he was beautiful and charming, it was not right to stare at him with infatuated eyes like that. Perhaps it was because of Gu Qingchen's psychological hint. When she looked at Rong Yu again, other than her ears that were a little red, her expression was normal. What Gu Qingchen did not notice was that after Rong Yu saw this, his seemingly gentle eyes flashed with a trace of playfulness. It was completely different from his refined appearance. The smile on his lips deepened, and the corners of his eyes curled up as if he had seen something interesting. "Yes, my master asked me to send the medicine over," Gu Qingchen said seriously. She paused for a moment before continuing, "Master also told me to watch you drink the medicine with my own eyes." Gu Qingchen thought for a moment. "Yes, that was what my master said." Rong Yu was not surprised. He looked down and saw the bag in Gu Qingchen's hand. He smiled and said, "Do you think these herbs are useful to me? Since you asked my master to prescribe the medicine, shouldn't you trust his medical skills?" Gu Qingchen raised her eyebrows slightly. As a doctor, the most taboo thing was to treat patients, but the patients could not trust him. Although Gu Qingchen was not a doctor yet, she paid attention to this point. Moreover, she was such a protective person. Even though her master was a little out of tune, he was still her master. Gu Qingchen could not accept the insult of others to her master. Being protective is also a good quality, but you can't cover your eyes and blindly protect them. Do you know why your master asked you to deliver the medicine instead of delivering it personally? Rong Yu still had a smile on his lips, as if a gentle breeze was blowing by, making people feel itchy in their hearts. But this sentence caused Gu Qingchen's heart to tremble. She suddenly raised her head, and her clear eyes were filled with countless shocks. He could actually see that she was protecting his shortcomings. As expected, this young master Rong was not simple. No wonder her master and Tang Feng were wary of him. It seemed that she had to be even more cautious in front of Rong Yu. At this moment, Rong Yu laughed out loud and stared. There's no need to be nervous. Are you afraid that I'll eat you up? Chapter 35. The first confrontation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The words, eat you up, shocked Gu Qingchen. When these words were said by Rong Yu, it would only make people blush. If it were Tang Feng, Gu Qingchen would definitely roll her eyes at him. This was the difference between a male god and a male pervert. Anyway, in Gu Qingchen's eyes, she was definitely being teased by Rong Yu, but she could not find anything wrong with him. With just a few words, Gu Qingchen realized that she was at a disadvantage. Rong Yu seemed to be able to guess what she was thinking, which made Gu Qingchen a little uncomfortable. Were they going to compete for their mind-reading ability? Sure, let's see who's better. Gu Qingchen had a plan in mind, so she no longer panicked. She raised her face and looked straight at Rong Yu. Mind-reading, she was the best at it, wasn't she? However, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Countless seconds passed. Gu Qingchen even felt a little jealous, but she could not read Rong Yu's mind. Suddenly, Gu Qingchen's heart sank, and there was a thud. Could it be that her mind-reading ability had failed? Ever since she had obtained this ability, Gu Qingchen had never failed. There were only minds that she did not want to read, and there were no minds she could not read. Why was it that when it came to Rong Yu, the ability to read minds was no longer useful? A trace of panic flashed across Gu Qingchen's heart. Could it be that she could not do mind-reading anymore? No, she could not panic. The more it came to this, the calmer she should be. Gu Qingchen retracted her gaze. She could not keep staring at Rong Yu. Otherwise, it would not be good if she really became a nymphomaniac. She calmed herself down and her thoughts began to spin rapidly. If she could not read Rong Yu's mind, there were only two possibilities. One was that her mind reading had failed. The second possibility was that Rong Yu was not thinking about anything at the moment. That's right. It should be the second possibility. Gu Qingchen believed that her mind-reading would not have failed at this moment, so the second possibility was even higher. Not thinking about anything at all. This was the first time Gu Qingchen had met such a person. Normal people would have thoughts, and as long as they had thoughts, she could read them. Did young Master Rong have a pure mind, or was his mind so deep that it was terrifying? Presumably, it was the latter. It was dangerous. This was a warning that flashed through Gu Qingchen's mind. Rong Yu was a person who was more skilled than he looked, and she had to be extra careful. It seemed that the task of delivering the medicine and watching him take the medicine today was indeed not that easy. Her master was really ruthless. She was being sent her here without any hints. He shouldn't play around with people like this. Rong Yu just sat there quietly and watched Gu Qingchen's expression change. He supported his smooth and attractive chin with one hand and was looking with his pair of deep black eyes. It seems that Dr. Hua did not give you any hints before you came. As a disciple, you are really not favored. Boom. Not only did Gu Qingchen's face turn dark, but her heart was also hit hard. She looked at Rong Yu with a hint of shock and wariness. How could Rong Yu always guess what she was thinking? Could it be that Rong Yu also had the ability to read minds? For a moment, Gu Qingchen was nervous, but there was a hint of anticipation. She had the feeling that there might be someone like her. Are you very curious about how I know what you're thinking? One could never get sick of hearing Rong Yu's pleasant voice. Gu Qingchen was shocked speechless. This gentle and pure man seemed to be harmless on the surface, but in fact, he had a hidden agenda. Even if he did not move, he could still strategize and nibble away his opponent step by step. Unknowingly, people would fall into his trap. How? In the end, Gu Qingchen still asked. She could even hear the sound of her own heartbeat. Hee hee. Rong Yu laughed softly. In Gu Qingchen's eyes, this modest and gentle smile hid the true face behind it, and she should not underestimate it. Follow me to the study room. The answer that you want is in there. After saying that, Rong Yu put his slender fingers on the wheelchair. Even though it seemed like he did not use much force, the wheelchair started to move. Gu Qingchen thought for a moment, jumped down from the swing, and followed Rong Yu into the living room. Although Rong Yu was in a wheelchair, he looked no different from a normal person. He was agile and did not look sick. Gu Qingchen entered the living room and looked around. She did not see the study room, so she subconsciously looked towards the second floor. How was he going to go up? Now that the butler was not here, did she have to carry him up? Gu Qingchen did not know why, but a strange idea popped up in her mind. Even she herself was surprised. It seems that your master did not tell you about my situation. Rong Yu's voice pulled Gu Qingchen's line of sight back. Then, Gu Qingchen's eyes widened as she watched Rong Yu, who was sitting in the wheelchair, stand up gracefully. His slender and strong legs moved with a leisurely pace, every step carried an indescribable charm and elegance. You, Gu Qingchen said in surprise. As soon as she finished speaking, she felt that she had lost her composure and hurriedly stopped what she wanted to say. Rong Yu was actually not disabled. She had always thought that Rong Yu was sitting in a wheelchair because his legs were inconvenient, and he had a disability. However, she did not expect that she had really thought too much. That's right. If he really had a disability and it was inconvenient for him to walk, how could he only have a room on the second floor and there was no elevator in the villa? The gentleness between Rong Yu's brows was like the white clouds in the sky. His condescending posture always exuded a unique charm. The faint smile on his lips was very shallow. His clear eyes seemed to be able to see through people. Let's go. He did not dwell on Gu Qingchen's shock just now. Instead, he took the lead and walked up the luxurious spiral staircase step by step. Gu Qingchen felt as if she was looking at an intoxicating painting. Rong Yu's every move could move people's hearts. Such a man was dangerous, mysterious, and carried a low-key in dazzling light everywhere. It was hard for people to take their eyes off him. When Gu Qingchen reacted, she actually found that she had followed Rong Yu up to the second floor. When she came back to her senses, Gu Qingchen could not help but shake her head and laugh. In his heart, she cursed herself for being useless. In a day, she was actually confused by Rong Yu one after another. This was not a good omen. Gu Qingchen shook off all the complicated thoughts in her mind and walked into the study room. The study room did not look like a hotel villa at all. It was antique and looked like a small library. The books inside were also very old, there were so many kinds of books that it was too much to take in. The answer you want is here. Rong Yu took out a few pieces of paper from a bookshelf and handed them to Gu Qingchen calmly. Gu Qingchen took them and looked at them one by one. The more she looked at them, the darker her face became. Damn it! They were all degree certificates from world-famous universities. They were all psychology degrees. There were even certificates from international psychology masters. Suddenly, she felt frustrated. It turned out that Ronyu did not have the mind-reading superpower, but he was a mind-reading master. Chapter 36. Destined to be Extraordinary. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It turned out that Ronyu's mind-reading method was different from hers. She had obtained the mind-reading cheat by accident, while Ronyu was definitely a real professional. No wonder Ronyu seemed to be able to see through her thoughts. He seemed to be around 20 years old, with a bachelor's degree, master's degree, doctor's degree, professor, and research expert. He was definitely a top student among the top students. Now, Gu Qingchen somewhat understood why her master was unwilling to deliver the medicine to Ronyu. It was entirely because her master thought that in front of Ronyu, it was as if he was naked and could always be seen through. However, if Dr. Hua knew that his disciple was also someone who could see through him at any time and place, would he also shed tears of regret? You mean that my master's medicine cannot cure your illness? Gu Qingchen had thought that Ronyu was an uncooperative patient and had even questioned her master. Now she understood that it was not that Ronyu was uncooperative, but that her master's medicine really could not cure his illness. Treating such a person who was as wise as a demon, nothing could really be hidden from him. Ronyu's expression was very calm. His eyes were as black as ink and his gaze was elegant. There's no medicine that could work, so why bother? Gu Qingchen frowned slightly. Looking at Ronyu, who was so indifferent as if he had seen through life and death, her heart was moved. It was as if she had been pricked by a needle. It was indescribably awkward. Then why did you ask my master to treat you? Wasn't that contradictory? Ronyu walked over to the sofa chair and sat down. The sofa chair seemed to have been specially prepared for him. The style was completely incompatible with this study room. Perhaps. I was trying to hold on to a glimmer of hope. Who knows? His voice was very soft, like a feather, tickling one's heart. That faint tone made one's heart ache. Gu Qingchen had never thought that such a cold-hearted person like her would actually feel heartache because of someone's casual words. Perhaps it was because of pity. Such a god-like man, there was no medicine to cure him. It was as if the heavens were playing a joke on him. For a moment, Gu Qingchen was speechless. Looking at the medicinal herbs in her hand, she felt that there was no need to give Ronyu more to drink. With Ronyu's amazing ability to capture things, he must have known from her master's micro-expression that these medicinal herbs could not cure his illness. It was just a disguised form of consolation. Forgive me for being presumptuous, but what illness do you have? On this point, Gu Qingchen could still be sure that the knowledge she had learned in the past few days was not for nothing. Who knew that after Ronyu heard Gu Qingchen's words, the expression in his pair of ink-like eyes instantly turned cold. The surrounding air seemed to be affected by the cold air emitted from his body, as if he was a king in the darkness, in a place where no one could see, he was ready to strike. Gu Qingchen's clear eyes met Ronyu's, but she still could not read any thoughts from his mind. Whether it was this man who was as gentle as water or as domineering as a king, he was enough to make people submit to him. Her heart trembled slightly. After that, Ronyu closed his eyes slightly and the corners of his lips curled up slightly. When he opened his eyes again, there was a flickering flame in his eyes. However, this flame only flashed for a moment and then disappeared without a trace. Ronyu was probably the only one who could perfectly control these two emotions. 1 second ago, it was warm like spring. The next second, it was like a cold winter. And the next second, it was like a spring breeze that gently brushed her face, not causing a single ripple. Dr. Hua never accepts disciples, but you are an exception. The question was not answered, but when Gu Qingchen heard it, she felt that there was a hidden meaning behind it. Dr. Hua took her in because she was lucky enough to guess all of Dr. Hua's random questions correctly. Well, maybe it's God's will. From today onwards, you are my personal physician. From now on, I will hand over my medication treatment to you. What? Gu Qingchen was shocked. Rong Yu obviously knew that Dr. Hua had only taken Gu Qingchen as his disciple. Even Dr. Hua could not cure his illness. What could an apprentice like her do? Young Master Rong is overpraising me. I can't accept it. What kind of joke was this? She did not even have a medical license, yet she actually became the personal physician of young Master Rong of the Rong group. This joke was really too big. If anything went wrong, she would become an unlicensed doctor. Rong Yu was not surprised. He smiled and raised his eyebrows. He looked at Gu Qingchen with a focused gaze. Gu Qingchen could only see her reflection in his eyes. His eyes were sparkling, and it made people eager to challenge him. I have always thought that the student will be better than the master. Are you not confident in yourself, or do you think that your master does not have the ability to produce a good disciple? Although Gu Qingchen knew that he was trying to goad her, she still took the bait. Since she wanted to become an outstanding physician, why would she be afraid of Rong Yu's provocation? Fine. Even my master thinks that I am lucky. Maybe I can really cure your illness. What one could not lack the most, besides self-confidence, was the challenging spirit of never giving up. Obviously, Rong Yu knew how to stir up the fighting spirit of others. Gu Qingchen really wanted to know how much she would achieve after her rebirth. The Rong group, a large group that she did not dare to think about before her rebirth. Now that young Master Rong of the Rong group had given her a platform and an opportunity, there was no need for her to be pretentious and not seize it. She did not have any power behind her. If she wanted to succeed, it would be good for her to have more connections. After receiving Gu Qingchen's challenge, the corners of Rong Yu's lips curled up, and the corners of his eyes widened. He seemed to be in a very good mood. Then, from today onwards, my life will be in your hands. This casual sentence made her filled with shock. What was the most important thing for a person? Nothing was more important than life. Gu Qingchen did not understand how someone like Rong Yu could so easily entrust his life to her, whom he had just met for the first time. At this moment, something was surging in Gu Qingchen's chest. That kind of indescribable emotion troubled her. All of her emotions seemed to lack a way to vent. In the end, they turned into full motivation, and all the hot blood in her body was mobilized. It had been a long time since she had such a clear feeling of being alive. All of her emotions only turned into a firm promise. Okay, I will do my best and never give up. As for Rong Yu's trust that was guaranteed with her life, what she could return was a promise from the bottom of her heart. Gu Qingchen did not easily promise others because, in the past, she was constantly under the double pressure of paying off her debts and drug testing. She was not sure if her promise could be fulfilled. That was why she never made promises. Today, because of Rong Yu, she made an exception. It was not because of Rong Yu's shocking nature, his graceful bearing, or even his unquestioning trust. It was only because of her heart that was beating once again. The sense of existence proved that she was alive and needed by others. She was destined to be extraordinary in this life. Chapter 37. A new attempt. You are listening at novelfull.audio. For the time being, I'll be staying in City Y. You can come over any time to treat me. Rong Yu handed a business card to Gu Qingchen. When you enter and leave Dynasty Hotel, show this business card and someone will naturally bring you here. I hope that the next time I see Ms. Gu, your title will become Dr. Gu. Rong Yu smiled at Gu Qingchen, just like when she first met him. He returned to his humble and elegant appearance, and his smile was filled with the aura of spring. At this moment, Gu Qingchen no longer simply thought that Rong Yu was a gentle and harmless person. Instead, she had labeled Rong Yu as dangerous. However, she was not as afraid of him as Dr. Hua or Tang Feng. Gu Qingchen had this kind of personality in her bones. The more she fought, the braver she became. Otherwise, she would not have chosen to risk her life in the drug testing industry after taking on a huge amount of debt. She was not willing to sell her looks to earn money. She took the business card from Rong Yu's hands and looked. There was only a dark black print on the business card. The two words, Rong Yu, were dark gold. It was very concise, but not simple. If someone in the industry saw it, they would be amazed. The dark black print on the business card was made by a top international designer. Even the dark gold name was printed on with a special material. It was not a dye, instead, it was inlaid bit by bit after being tempered with gold powder many times. Just this name alone cost an unknown amount of top-grade gold. It was low-key, luxurious, and perfectly portrayed. Gu Qingchen raised her eyes again. The light in her eyes was very dazzling, which made Rong Yu look at her in a new light. The corners of his lips curled up into a beautiful arc. Although this name card was very light, Gu Qingchen felt that it was heavy in her hand. Okay. Just one word was as heavy as 1,000 pounds. O.org. After thinking for a while, Gu Qingchen still asked, since you asked me to be your personal physician, I want to know, what is your illness? Although she could ask her master when she went back, Gu Qingchen felt that it was best to ask the person concerned for the information. If it's your illness, for the time being, it's just that your body is a little weak. As for the cause of your illness, I'm also looking for an answer. It was rare for Gu Qingchen to catch a trace of confusion in Rong Yu's eyes. However, in just an instant, the confusion disappeared without a trace. Rong Yu turned to look at Gu Qingchen with a smile as if he did not care about his own body. In the future, I'll have to trouble Ms. Gu with my body. I hope you're worth it. Gu Qingchen paused, her ears burning. After calming down, she nodded and said, I understand. It had to be said that Rong Yu's words sometimes really made her fantasize. Those words seemed to have magic power and drilled into her heart. Butler. Rong Yu called out softly, and soon the butler appeared at the door of the study. He stood there respectfully and waited for Rong Yu's instructions as if he had been standing there the whole time. Send Ms. Gu back. The butler lowered his eyebrows and answered, Yes, young master. He turned to look at Gu Qingchen and said respectfully, Ms. Gu, this way please. Gu Qingchen did not stay any longer. She did not know anything at the moment, and she had not even learned how to do pulse diagnosis. Otherwise, she could give Rong Yu a general check. Up today. It seemed that she had to go back and study hard to find a way to treat Rong Yu as soon as possible. After the butler sent Gu Qingchen away, he returned to the villa and saw Rong Yu sitting in the wheelchair again, basking in the sun in the backyard. She has been sent away. With his back facing the butler, Rong Yu said faintly. It was not a question, but a statement. The butler walked over and looked at his young master. He could not help but move the parasol to cover Rong Yu. Feeling the shadow, Rong Yu smiled gently and murmured, It seems that I can't even get the sun now. The butler was worried. Young master, do you really want Ms. Gu to treat you? She is too young. Even if she is Dr. Hua's disciple, her medical skills are definitely not as good as Dr. Hua's. The butler could not understand what Rong Yu wanted to do. He could not help it. His young master had been like this since he was young. No one could understand what he was thinking. On the contrary, he could understand what the others were thinking. Facing his butler, Rong Yu stopped smiling. That indifferent expression seemed to match his real personality even more. It doesn't matter. Grandfather thinks highly of Gu Qingchen. Even Dr. Hua thinks that Gu Qingchen's luck is very good. Although I don't believe in such illusory things as luck, my grandfather believes in it. I'll just go along with it. The world was a farce. People were the actors of this farce. In the past, he preferred to be detached from the world, watching from the sides and directing the show coldly. Now, he felt that if he did not enter the world, how could he be born? He had watched too many shows, so he might as well give it a try. Whether it was playing a game or gambling, it should be a new attempt at the final stage of his life. He had always known about his body. After so many years of struggling, he felt that his body was getting weaker and weaker year by year. Naturally, the butler could not understand Rong Yu's thoughts. Young master, the technology is becoming more and more advanced, and the research institutions funded by our Rong group have also been doing research. Believing in science is more reliable than believing in luck. If it was someone else, perhaps the butler would still believe that they would believe in something as illusory as fate. However, his young master had never believed in such things. It could be said that the only person that Rong Yu believed in was himself. The butler had witnessed Rong Yu's methods. He was weak, his status was awkward, he was young, and he did not have any family influence. He was able to reach this stage because of his brain, his methods, and his decisiveness. For a man like him who would rather control the world and make plans, to actually agree with his grandfather, Elder Yuan, to do such a ridiculous thing, was truly abnormal. Could it be? The butler looked at Rong Yu with worry in his eyes. Could it be that the young master's body had really reached an irreparable state, to the point that he would make such an irrational move? It's also boring to control everything all the time. Rong Yu lightly curved his lips and returned to his humble and gentle young master's appearance. Looking at the garden full of osmanthus flowers, his black eyes were deep and profound. His red lips opened and closed as he softly spat out 3 words, Gu Qingchen. Just as she left the Dynasty Hotel and sat in a car prepared by Butler Qin, Gu Qingchen suddenly felt a chill on her back. It was as if someone was whispering in her ear. Gu Qingchen subconsciously looked left and right. Other than the driver, there was no one else. She also did not see any surveillance cameras. Only then did she relax. However, that kind of real feeling really made her heart palpitate. Perhaps it was because she had just seen Rong Yu, a man who was as stunning as a celestial being, and her mood had yet to calm down. Looking at the business card in her hand, Gu Qingchen kept the business card and had her own plans in her mind. If she could really cure Rong Yu's illness, then she could become famous in one go. This was a very good opportunity. Chapter 38. The Listless Sure Way. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gu Qingchen did not go home directly. Instead, she went to the 100 Herb Hall. She naturally wanted to make good use of her weekend to learn more medical skills from her master. It's so late. Could it be that he just woke up? Dr. Hua had been sitting here waiting for Gu Qingchen to come over early in the morning. In the end, Gu Qingchen only arrived at the 100 Herb Hall around noon. Dr. Hua was so tired from waiting that he sat there and yawned. Gu Qingchen walked in and glanced at Dr. Hua. The look in his eyes seemed to be saying, I've seen through you. Dr. Hua was baffled and could not understand what was going on. He then heard Gu Qingchen say, I went to deliver medicine this morning, but young Master Rong did not take it. Dr. Hua was stunned. His eyes were wide open. He stood up and asked curiously, you went to deliver medicine. How was it? That kid didn't do anything to you, right? Quickly tell me about it. Tisk, tsk, tsk. I wonder if anything was interesting that happened between the two of them. A little fox against an old fox. It must be very interesting. Gu Qingchen read Dr. Hua's thoughts and her face turned black. She knew that Dr. Hua did it on purpose. He didn't tell her anything about Rong Yu because he wanted to know who was more powerful and who was more shrewd. Oh, I didn't do anything. He just fired you, master. Huh. What? Could it be that he was old, and his hearing was declining? Why did Gu Qingchen say that Rong Yu had fired him? Is he crazy? That darn brat Rong always makes people worry so much. This time, Elder Yuan will bother me every day. No, I'd better go personally. Dr. Hua was finally feeling nervous this time. If he had known earlier, he would not have wanted to watch the show and let Gu Qingchen go. Thinking of Elder Yuan nagging him every day, Dr. Hua felt like his head could explode. Gu Qingchen saw that Dr. Hua had been busy for a long time and was ready to go out after packing his things, then she added faintly, but he asked me to be his personal physician, so whether I can graduate or not depends on you, master. Crack. Dr. Hua felt his heart breaking, like a dumpling filling. It was not because his work had been stolen by his disciple, but because he felt that he had definitely been played by his disciple. This was clearly not how the script was arranged. He was clearly the director and the one who was watching the show. How did he end up being played by his disciple and Rong Yu when he did not manage to watch the show? Damn it. Who said that it was good to take in a disciple? That person had better come out and I will not hit you. Dr. Hua thought. Girl, it seems a little unkind to steal my job. Dr. Hua deliberately put on a straight face. He wanted to make things right no matter what. I don't believe that this girl could remain calm when she sees me angry. Gu Qingchen lowered her eyebrows and pursed her lips. Her eyes seemed to be smiling. It had to be said that her master was very cute, which made her always want to tease him. Master, you asked me to deliver the medicine, but you didn't give me any instructions. There seems to be a lot of unkindness. Cough, cough, cough. Dr. Hua suddenly became a little listless. He turned his head away awkwardly and did not look at Gu Qingchen. He tried to cover up his beard, but in the end, he still held it in. Master is getting old. Can't I forget about it? You are a disciple, and you still dare to be so calculative with me. Gu Qingchen knew that her master needed a way out, so she understood. Therefore, Gu Qingchen lowered her head humbly and said sincerely, Master, you are right. It is my fault. Seeing Gu Qingchen being so humble and obedient, Dr. Hua felt much better. He would never tell Gu Qingchen how happy he was to get rid of Rong Yu, the smiling tiger. Dr. Hua waved his hand and said generously, Forget it, who asked me to be your master? Since Rong Yu asked you to treat him, his body will belong to you from now on. What? Gu Qingchen felt a chill. Why was her master speaking so incoherently? Or could it be that she had experienced the things in her later life, and because of the proliferation of internet terms, that she had an open mind, and it was easy for her to misunderstand? Alright, it was her fault for thinking ahead of time. Seeing that Gu Qingchen was still submissive, Dr. Hua continued, Since Brat Rong asked you to treat him, then you have a lot to learn. From today onwards, you have to make more time to come over. I'll hand over everything I know to you. The rest will depend on your talent. Learning medicine is also a kind of talent. Dr. Hua looked at Gu Qingchen and sighed. If I had met you a few years ago, I would have finished my apprenticeship by now. Gu Qingchen's ability to comprehend things was very strong. This was something that Dr. Hua discovered after teaching Gu Qingchen for so long. To be honest, he really regretted it a little. If he had thought of taking in a disciple a few years ago and took in Gu Qingchen, perhaps Gu Qingchen's medical skills would be superb by now. Fortunately, Gu Qingchen learned quickly. He wanted to use the shortest amount of time to produce a new generation of medical masters. Gu Qingchen nodded strongly. I will find more time to come over. Master, you can also give me tasks. I will go back and study. That she was still a student and was not an adult yet. Naturally, she had to go back home. However, if she were to go to Hongfeng, she would have more freedom. Lodging was available in Hongfeng, and the curfew was known to be lenient. If she went back a little later, at least her parents would not worry. Perhaps, she should indeed consider going to Hongfeng. Emicham, that's fine too. But there's one thing you must pay attention to. Before I say that you can finish your apprenticeship, you absolutely cannot treat Rong Yu, that kid. Dr. Hua's tone was very serious, which showed the importance of this matter. Gu Qingchen also knew the seriousness of the matter. Master, I don't want to be arrested for practicing medicine without a license. Seeing that Gu Qingchen had a sense of propriety, Dr. Hua heaved a sigh of relief. Rong Yu was not an ordinary person. If Gu Qingchen was a little careless, then what awaited her would be a punishment that would destroy the world. At this moment, he was a little worried about this little disciple of his. Anyway, it was a very conflicted mentality. On one hand, he felt that he was liberated, and he no longer had to face Rongyu, that smiling tiger. On the other hand, he was worried that something would happen to Gu Qingchen. If he wanted to blame someone, he would have to blame Rongyu for being so powerful that even a person like him, whose body was half buried in the ground, would be afraid of him. There were not many people who could make him so afraid. In the following period of time, Gu Qingchen had been learning medical skills from Dr. Hua. Dr. Hua was not careless at all and was very serious in guiding Gu Qingchen. On Monday, when they went to school, the homeroom teacher, Lu Ying, did not come and was still recuperating at home. When Shi Wei saw Gu Qingchen for the first time, the expression in her eyes was complicated. There was jealousy, resentment, and even a little fear. Gu Qingchen looked over and only then did she understand what had happened. Could it be that my family's account book is really in Gu Qingchen's hands? If this is true, then what should I do? Am I going to be bullied by Gu Qingchen in the future? No, I can't accept this. Even if Gu Qingchen really has the account book, I have to think of a way to get it back. Gu Qingchen, just you wait. You won't be able to stay alive for more than a few days. Chapter 39. It doesn't cost anything to try. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 39. It doesn't cost anything to try. Gu Qingchen lowered her eyes and began to ponder. It seemed that Lu Ying had gone to look for Shi Tian. Shi Tian must have learned from Lu Ying that the missing account book was in Gu Qingchen's hands. That was why when she came to school today, Shi Wei did not play her usual dirty tricks. After all, she suspected that Gu Qingchen had something that could be used against her family. If she angered Gu Qingchen, it would not benefit her family. However, Gu Qingchen felt that she did not have many peaceful days left. With Shi Tian's character, he definitely would start to make a move. It seemed that she had to pay more attention. Qingchen, have you thought about what special skill you want to use to enter Hongfeng? I have paid some attention to it. Next weekend, Hongfeng will start accepting people. Han Zhengxiu saw Gu Qingchen and asked softly. Next week. Gu Qingchen was a little surprised. She had thought that it would take a long time, but she did not expect it to start next weekend. Hongfeng Elite School would recruit high-quality students with special talents. Perhaps their specialized courses were not the best, but they were outstanding talents in other areas. Gu Qingchen rested her chin on one hand, the expression in her eyes was a little empty. What was her special skill? Did mind.reading count? Of course not. The number of times she could read minds every day was limited. Moreover, her mind.reading ability could not be known by others. If others knew, they might arrest her and send her to the research institute as a research subject. Thinking of the research institute. Gu Qingchen was slightly startled, and her thoughts were also in a mess. That was a place that she did not want to go to for the second time in her life. If mind.reading could not be counted, could her photographic memory and ability to accept things quickly be counted as a talent? However, the students who could go to the Hongfeng Elite School seemed to have very good grades. These 2 points did not seem to be special in Hongfeng. If these were not possible, what should she do? She could not tell others that she knew divination, right? Although she didn't know anything about divination, she was still a person who had lived once. She knew about some important events. Maybe she would be regarded as a prophet. No, that wasn't reliable. Divination also needed time to prove. She couldn't let the future happen immediately. How could the teacher who interviewed her be sure that what she said wasn't false? It was a little worrisome. Han Zhengxiu looked at Gu Qingchen's changing expression and guessed that Gu Qingchen was worried about her talent. Why don't you think about what you are most interested in and if you have the talent in that area? He still hoped that Gu Qingchen could take the Hongfeng examination with him. He was very clear about his talent. In terms of eloquence, he might not lose to others. Gu Qingchen frowned slightly. After thinking for a long time, she still could not figure out what talent to use. These talents of hers were all shameful, okay. Han Zhengxiu looked a little anxious. In the end, after holding it in for a long time, he said, "Why don't you compete with others in beauty? Being beautiful is also a kind of talent." Pfft. Gu Qingchen immediately spat out when she heard Han Zhengxiu's words. Han Zhengxiu was also a little embarrassed. He averted his eyes, and his ears were a little red. In the end, he said in a low voice, "Anyway, we can try. It doesn't cost anything to try." Gu Qingchen stared at Han Zhengxiu for a long time before she burst into laughter. Her laughter was very happy and was not pretentious at all. She looked very cheerful and could infect others. When Han Zhengxiu saw Gu Qingchen smile, his heart skipped a beat and his breathing tightened. He felt that the current Gu Qingchen was astonishingly beautiful. That kind of gentle and cheerful charm that blended into one was unforgettable to him for the rest of his life. Many years later, Han Zhengxiu recalled the past and was still moved by Gu Qingchen's smile. When one was young and frivolous, one's emotions would stir. Sometimes, it was just a matter in a moment. The throbbing of one's heart during puberty was young and sweet, ignorant and beautiful. Everything was that simple. Falling in love with someone was just a matter of a moment. In the end, Gu Qingchen did not think about what talent she wanted to use, but she promised Han Zhengxiu that she would definitely participate. When she returned home, Gu Qingchen realized that her father's expression did not look good. However, when he saw his daughter return, he forced himself to be more energetic. "Dad, what happened to you? Did you encounter any problems?" Even without reading his mind, Gu Qingchen could tell that Gu Yuanchuan was not in a good mood today. Gu Yuanchuan opened his mouth and swallowed his words. In the end, it was Mrs. Gu who spoke up, "Don't mention it. Your father originally thought that he was more familiar with the timber business and wanted to use your 5 million to start over, but who knew that your father's former business partners seemed to have communicated with one another. Even if your father had the money now, they wouldn't be willing to cooperate with your father." Gu Yuanchuan was also very sullen. Usually, he treated these people very well and with sincerity. He didn't expect that they would treat him like this now. In the end, Gu Yuanchuan was a conservative person. Even if he was a businessman who ventured into business, he had not learned the ability to abandon morality for profit, see the wind, and set the helm. Gu Yuanchuan believed that when doing business, one should be honest, and everyone should be kind to one another in order to make money. He did not expect that his years of honesty would bring him the merciless abandonment of his past business partners. More or less, Gu Yuanchuan felt a little disheartened and upset. "Dad, in my opinion, although you are familiar with the timber business, it will be a little difficult for you to expand it. Why don't you change your business while you are still young? The most important thing is to seize the business opportunity. I see that this jade business has a lot of potential and I know some people in this field. Why don't you consider it?" Gu Qingchen could roughly guess why her father was always bumping into walls. Needless to say, it must have something to do with Shi Tian. Her father was pure and honest, so he definitely did not think about it. His current situation was very likely that someone was deliberately trying to trip him up. Since her father did not think about it, she did not want to expose it. It was also good to change the business and get in touch with some people again. As for those people in the past, it was fine to stop contacting them. It was not worth befriending such people who stepped down on others. Gu Yuanchuan thought for a moment and felt that what his daughter said made sense. Perhaps he could give it a try. Mrs. Gu also tried to persuade him, "Yes, this timber business must have been snatched away by Shi Tian. If you want to do it again, it is indeed very difficult. Why don't you listen to your daughter? From now on, we will do the jade business. Mrs. Gu was a more understanding person. As soon as she spoke, she hit the nail on the head. Gu Yuanchuan nodded and swept away his previous frustration. Okay, let's try it. Gu Qingchen smiled. The three of them made this decision and ate happily. How could they let Shi Tian and those ungrateful people off so easily? Hee, of course not. Gu Qingchen had her own plans. In the next few days, Gu Qingchen brought her father to the stone gambling venue and introduced Zhou Xiang to her father. After the previous contact, Zhou Xiang and Gu Qingchen were very familiar with each other. When he learned that Gu Qingchen's father was interested in the jade business, Zhou Xiang did not exclude him. He enthusiastically taught Gu Yuanchuan about jade. In the blink of an eye, it was the day before Hongfeng Elite School's special enrollment. Chapter 40. Young Master Rong came. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gu Qingchen had already thought of her own talent. These days, she had learned a lot of medical knowledge from Dr. Hua, read a lot of ancient medical books, and even started to check the pulse of some people. With Dr. Hua's guidance, Gu Qingchen's medical skills had really improved by leaps and bounds. Even Dr. Hua could not compare to her. He looked at Gu Qingchen with love and hatred in his eyes. He loved Gu Qingchen's talent, but he hated himself for not meeting Gu Qingchen earlier. When Gu Qingchen finished taking the pulse of a patient, gave a prescription, and was highly praised by Dr. Hua, the door of the 100 Herb Hall opened. The gurgling sound was the sound of a wheelchair being pushed on the ground. Gu Qingchen did not expect that Rongyu, whom she had not seen for some time, would actually appear here. Seeing Rongyu come in, Dr. Hua's eyes flashed, and he stroked his beard. Brat Rong, I remember that you don't like to come to my place the most. The last time you came here, it was Elder Yuan who forced you to come, right? Today, you actually took the initiative to come here. It's really odd. The last time Dr. Hua mentioned was when Gu Qingchen saw Rongyu's side profile at the entrance of the 100 Herb Hall. Rongyu smiled calmly. The clear and distant look in his eyes was full of warmth. Fortunately, the patients had left at this time, and there was no one in the 100 Herb Hall. Otherwise, it would have caused quite a stir. With this kind of charming look and expressive eyes, it would definitely kill everyone. Fortunately, Dr. Hua was an old man and had seen Rongyu many times. Gu Qingchen had also seen Rongyu's handsome and charming face before, so she was mentally prepared. These two people acted very normally. Hee, Dr. Hua, you must be joking. This sentence was neither salty nor indifferent. Regardless of whether it was his tone or his demeanor, it was as if he did not hear the complaints and ridicule in Dr. Hua's tone. Dr. Hua felt that his fist had hit cotton. It was soft and uncomfortable. Humph, your mouth is still so smooth. It seems that you have been in good health recently. Dr. Hua mumbled, but he still took the initiative to walk over and reached out his hand to take Rongyu's pulse. Unexpectedly, Rongyu retracted his hand very naturally. The corners of his slightly pale lips curled up. Dr. Hua seems to have forgotten that there is someone else who is my personal physician now. When Dr. Hua heard this, his beard trembled again and again. In the end, he simply withdrew his hand and placed it behind his back. He was afraid that he would beat up this kid out of anger. That girl hasn't finished her apprenticeship. Since she hadn't finished her apprenticeship, she naturally couldn't treat others as she pleased. Rongyu was different from those patients who came here to seek treatment. A cold and a fever could be cured, but Rongyu's congenital illness wasn't easy to cure. Although Gu Qingchen's comprehension ability was very strong, it was impossible for her to reach the level of a master within 10 days. It was for her own good that Gu Qingchen wasn't allowed to finish her apprenticeship so easily. Rongyu's beautiful face seemed to be a little surprised. The surprise was just right. No one could guess whether he was truly surprised or pretending to be surprised. Not finished. I thought Ms. Gu would finish her apprenticeship very soon with the guidance of a national medical saint like Dr. Hua. When Dr. Hua heard Rong Yu's words, his beard shook even more violently. Rong Yu was too vengeful. No, it could not be considered vengeful. It was because his memory was too good. When Elder Yuan found Dr. Hua back then, Dr. Hua was too young. Naturally, he would be a little arrogant and boast that there was no illness that he could not treat. Then, he was invited by Elder Yuan to treat Rong Yu, who was less than 5 years old. He still remembered the first time he saw Rong Yu. The moment he saw that little boy who was so thin that he didn't look like a human was clenching his teeth and enduring the pain, he was shocked. A 5-year-old child had such endurance. It was definitely something that most adults could not do. At that time, when the young Rong Yu saw him, he endured the pain and asked, "Can you cure me?" Dr. Hua's answer back then was, yes. In the end, he treated Rong Yu for 15 years. Although Rong Yu survived, he did not fulfill the bold words he said back then, which was to cure him completely. For Rong Yu, living was also a form of suffering. Living was even more painful than dying. Dr. Hua finally encountered a setback in treating Rong Yu. The relationship between him and Rong Yu was very delicate. For the 5-year-old Rong Yu, Dr. Hua's yes back then gave him his last hope. However, this hope was gradually extinguished by the cruel reality in the repeated illness, little by little. Towards Rong Yu, Dr. Hua always felt ashamed because he knew that giving a 5-year-old child hope but failing to fulfill his promise was worse than not making any promises at all. Although Rong Yu had never complained about Dr. Hua, as time went on, his hidden thoughts and the faint smile on his face always made Dr. Hua's heart ache even more. Gu Qingchen was different from Dr. Hua, so she didn't know about the relationship between Dr. Hua and Rong Yu. Young Master Rong, as far as I know, psychology is your specialty. You can guess what a person is thinking through micro-expressions, right? Gu Qingchen suddenly spoke. Dr. Hua looked at Gu Qingchen, not understanding what his disciple was going to say. Rong Yu looked at Gu Qingchen with a smile. His black eyes were like ink as if he knew what Gu Qingchen was going to say, but he still answered, yes. Gu Qingchen nodded and continued, if you teach Butler Qin the psychology of micro-expressions, can he become a master of psychology in more than 10 days? Gu Qingchen looked at Butler Qin apologetically, but Butler Qin didn't care. Rong Yu's smile gradually deepened, and his eyes were as hot as fire. His jade-like face turned bright as if a hunter had met his prey. I can't. But. After a pause, he stared at Gu Qingchen with a burning gaze and said in a stuttering voice, if I teach you, it might be possible. Pfft. This guy was very straightforward. He was saying that Butler Qin was not as good as Gu Qingchen. Fortunately, Butler Qin was expressionless and did not show any displeasure. Gu Qingchen smiled faintly and suppressed the panic in her heart. Young Master Rong is overpraising me. Since young Master Rong can't even do it, why make things difficult for others? If young Master Rong is not at ease with me, you can always change people. Rong Yu was really amazing. Sometimes, he could see through people with just a glance. Her secret was too big. Hearing Rong Yu's meaningful tone, she always worried that her secret would be known by others. Rong Yu just smiled. After a round of verbal war, although young Master Rong did not refute, it was a draw in the end. Dr. Hua's eyes lit up when he saw this. He was so excited that he gave Gu Qingchen a thumbs up in his heart. He was right. This little girl looked honest, but she was very strong. She was also a smart little fox. She did not lose to Rong Yu, that wily old fox. Cough, cough. Unknowingly, Dr. Hua labeled Rong Yu as a wily old fox. Since Ms. Gu is still unable to complete her apprenticeship, then accompany me for a walk. Understanding your own patients is also something a doctor should do. Butler Qin was a little disapproving. He wanted to say something, but Rong Yu only gave him a faint glance, and Butler Cheen remained in the 100 Herb Hall.